The netstat command can be used to collect a wide variety of network information. I'll share with you some of my favorite and most used netstat options. The -n option is used to display numerical IP addresses and ports as opposed to host names and service names. You can use this option in conjunction with most other netstat options. To get a list of network interfaces on your system, you can use the -i option. To display routing information, use -r. I often use netstat-rn to display the routes using IP addresses. The -p option displays the PID and program that is using a given socket. For example, if you are connecting via SSH to a server and you run netstat -p, you'll see the PID of the specific SSH process you are connected to. Note that you'll need to use root privileges with the -p option. The -l option displays listening sockets. Use this option in conjunction with the P option to see what processes are listening on what ports. On a web server, for example, it will show that a process such as Nginx or Apache is listening on port 80. If you cannot connect to a given port on a system, run this command to make sure the process is actually listening on that port. You can limit the output of netstat to a specific protocol. To limit output to the TCP protocol, use netstat-t. For UDP, use the -u option. If you want a list of all programs that are listening on TCP ports, you can use netstat -ntlp. Here is some sample output from the netstat command. The first bit of output is a list of network interfaces from the netstat -i command. Next, the routing information is displayed with netstat-rn. Finally, a list of programs that are listening on TCP ports is displayed. In this example, SSH is listening on port 22, and a program called master, which is the postfix master process, is listening on the SMTP port, port 25. Remember to use root privileges with the -p option. I accomplished that by using the sudo command in this example. Sometimes it's not enough to know that network connectivity is in place. Sometimes you need to examine the contents of network traffic to ensure payloads are actually being delivered. Perhaps one host is claiming to send data to another, but to be sure that that data is reaching its destination, you can look at the traffic it is receiving. To do this, you'll want to use some sort of packet sniffing tool such as TCP dump. Even though there are several other tools that perform the same task, TCP dump is one of the older and most commonly installed tools. TCP dump requires root privileges to run. If you run it without arguments, it prints out a description of the contents of network packets being received. It will display information such as a timestamp, the source system address and port, the destination system address and port, and packet-specific information. TCP dump will continue to examine packets until you stop it with Control-C. Like other networking commands we've covered, TCP dump has the -n option to suppress DNS queries and to display numerical addresses and ports. To display information in ASCII or human-readable format, use the -A option. This will allow you to see human-readable text if that type of data is being received on the host. For example, if you're using TCP dump to examine incoming traffic on a web server, you can see the URL paths that are being requested if you use the -A option. If you want even more output and information, use the -V option. To increase the verbosity, use -VV, and for the most verbose output, use -VVV. Here is some sample output from TCP dump. On the far left-hand side of the output is the timestamp. Next is the source information, followed by the destination. Finally, information about the network packet is displayed at the end of the line. The second output shows an example of verbose ASCII output. You'll notice that a client requests the /about page from the web server on this host. Remember to use root privileges when you run TCP dump. The telnet command is practically obsolete. It was originally used to log into remote systems. Today, SSH has taken its place, but telnet can be used in network troubleshooting. Since telnet has fallen out of favor for interactive logins, it may not be installed by default on some Linux distributions. You can use telnet to initiate a TCP connection to a host on a specific port. Let's go back to a previous hypothetical situation. Let's say that we cannot ping google.com from our host. We know that that doesn't necessarily mean that Google is down. To see if Google is accepting web traffic, we can connect to the HTTP port, which is port 80. To do this, we type telnet google.com 80. If the port is open, then we get a message like connected to google.com. If you want to, you can send data directly to the port by typing in some data. The HTTP protocol does accept human-readable commands. For example, to request a web page, use get followed by the path. To get the home page, use get // Once you are ready to close the connection, hold down the control key and press the right bracket key. This will bring you to a telnet prompt. To exit telnet, type quit and press enter. When you attempt a connection, you may get a message like operation timed out or connection refused. In the case of operation timed out, that means that a connection could not be established. This could be because traffic is silently getting dropped before it reaches the port, or that port is not open on the host. If you get a connection refused message, that means the port is being blocked by a firewall. In this lesson, you learned how the ping command can be used to determine if network connectivity exists between two hosts. You also learned that even if a ping fails, it does not necessarily mean the host you are pinging is down. Next, you learned how to trace the path network traffic takes on the way to a host. You also learned how to list network interfaces, show the route table, and display the applications that are listening on ports by using the netstat command. We also covered how to sniff network packets using TCP dump. Finally, you learned how to test for port connectivity with a telnet command.